Hello, bass family, and welcome to Everything Bass. I was really pleasantly surprised and encouraged by the response my intro to creating better walking bass lines that I shot last week. I was, I was hoping that people would be interested in it, as always, when I come up with a new series. And the response through both comments on the actual video in YouTube and also on the Facebook group that we have, Everything Bass with Dale Titus, it really fired me up. So here we go. We're starting. A couple things I want to say is, if you did miss the intro, it basically talks about the prerequisites, what would help you be more successful with this series from the get-go and hopefully not get frustrated or struggle. So I made a playlist. If you go to my channel, look under playlists, you'll see one that says creating better jazz walking bass lines, the prerequisites. That just is a list of videos talking about arpeggios and intervals and knowing the notes of your neck. Today we're going to deal with just triads. Now, it's always difficult when you're trying to help someone get better at not only creating walking jazz lines, but understanding in any genre, rock, metal, funk, blues, how to connect one chord to another chord and what notes what notes will give you the effect you're wanting. Because there's no bad notes, there's no wrong notes. Everyone just creates a different effect. So we're going to strip it down to triads. Today we're doing everything in just triads. And if you are like, oh, I know triads, I'll try to show you some things at the end of the video which will make it more challenging for you. But I encourage you not to skip over. It's always hard to know what holes are in your education that is making it difficult for you to achieve the next level in whatever topic you're studying. So when it comes to jazz here, we're going to stick with triads today. And I'm creating 3 patterns for you. Basically, I'm going to show you 3 ways I want you to play through the changes. Now, I'm using the first 8 bars to Autumn Leaves, but you can also, if you're a Patreon supporter, you can find the link in the description below. Go there, find this unit. I title the videos the same as I title the Patreon post, and you can download the sheet music, and I think I'll probably put a play along track on there. It might not happen right away, but within the week you'll see a play along track. Okay, so we have the changes. I'll go through them just in case you don't have time yet to go to Patreon. Or you don't have a real book. I'll go through them. So in the first pattern now, and what I mean is this is a template. I'm going to ask you to play the same 4 intervals if you study the intervals. For each measure the same way. And what we're trying to do is build a foundation of understanding. Now the first chord is A minor, and the first pattern or template I'm giving you is you're going to play the root, the 3rd of whatever the chord is, the 5th of that's correct for the chord, and just the octave. We're just going to play the triad up. So it's what I was demonstrating in the intro. So with A minor, and you can choose any A. I'm going to choose the 5th fret A. And you're just basically going to play the root, the minor 3rd, the perfect 5th, and the octave. Now, remember, when the chord is A minor, and you're playing an A minor arpeggio, every note you play is inside or is resolved to the chord. It sounds comfortable. You're not going to create any nutty tension. Because if I'm playing an A in the A minor chord, there is an A, obviously. I play a C in the A minor chord, there's a C, it's the 3rd. I play an E in the A minor chord, there's an E, that's the 5th. So I'm not introducing any notes that are not represented in the chord being played. That's why it's a good place to start. Every note is safe. So you're going to play on the A minor, root, 3, 5, octave. Now after that it goes to a D major, and if you're familiar with the changes, I stripped off the 7s. I just wanted to make them triads, so that's why the chords are, in this case, just triad chords. In future units, when I actually go and add in the 7th, you'll see that the chord changes will be, as you probably are familiar with them. Okay, so the next chord is a D major, so we're going to play the D major triad, the root, the D, F sharp, A, C, D. And then we go to a G, so we're going to play G major, the C major. Now we have our first chord that is not a major or minor, and it's a diminished, and it's F sharp diminished. So we're going to play F sharp. There's a minor 3rd, so we play A. Then there's a C natural, and then the F sharp. That's the diminished triad. And remember, if you're like, oh, I don't really know the diminished triad, no problem. Pause this video, check out my video on diminished triads. I'll show you how they're built, multiple ways to play them, and hopefully that'll kind of shore up that information so you can come back and just blaze through. So we're on the F sharp diminished, then we play a B major, and then we play 2 bars of E minor. So in my example I played earlier, I played the open E, G, B, E, repeated the octave, E, G, B, and then I went up to this E. So you might be going, well, that doesn't sound like the great jazz bass lines of all time. It isn't, but it's necessary. It's necessary to understand what the notes of the chord being played are and be systematic. You'll also notice I just played quarter notes. I didn't get triplets. I didn't add any kind of funky rhythms or anything. Sometimes we as students, when we are like we come upon a chord and we're not so sure, we play a fancy rhythm or we go, nutty with the root and the octave and get all funky, as kind of hoping to cover up the fact that we don't know what the third and the fifth is. It's better for you right now to just stick with 4 notes a measure, quarter notes. Just play 4 beats in the measure and don't put any fancy rhythms, because we're focusing on the note values right now and understanding how to play them. So if you're looking on the sheet music that's on Patreon, the first 8 bars, it's just ascending triads. And now this one's a little different. So what we're going to do next is descending triads. So this, especially if you're like, oh, I know my triads, don't be surprised if this gives you a little pause. Because walking bass lines in any genre of music don't just always head up. They head down and they connect, and that's how we get those flowing bass lines that are like a sine wave, by sometimes coming down the chord, sometimes going up the chord. But you'll be surprised where that gap might cause a lot of frustration in your playing, because I hate to say it, but sometimes scales and arpeggios look different. They're not, but they look a little different, or they feel different when you descend from the octave down to the root. So what we're doing now is we're going to start on this A on the 7th fret on the D string, and we're going to play the octave 5 3 root. Now when we go to the D major, we start on the octave D. All right, then we go to the G major, the C major, F sharp diminish, B major, and then the E minor. Put the 7 in accidentally. So so try that out. Put the metronome really slowly, or heck, at the beginning, no metronome. Just make sure you can execute it. The metronome is good if you just kind of want to get, again, sometimes when we are unsure of a chord, we'll like hold for a second, stop playing, and jump in. That's good at the beginning. When you want to test yourself, do I understand this information? Can I do this? A metronome at a slow tempo puts a little bit of pressure on you. It's like, okay, and try to stick with it. Now, here's the other thing. I'm going to do a video about this in the future, but don't stop. So if you make a mistake with the metronome on, try to get used to keeping what's called eye tempo, which is the eye stays with the chart and doesn't stop. When you make a mistake, sometimes you freeze and you're looking at your mistake and the music's moved on, and you can't expect everyone in the band to stop. It's a good skill to develop, to kind of just follow along and jump in when you can, okay? So now we've done 2 types of patterns. We've done root 3 5 octave, and then we do octave 5 3 root. The last thing I would suggest for just this unit, again, remember these are focused studies, little challenges that you can attack, and then the next one's incrementally more difficult or more diverse. So hopefully I don't lose you guys, you don't get frustrated. But this last pattern, we're going to alternate. So on the A minor, we're going to go up. The D major come down, the G minor go up, C major come down, F sharp diminish, B come down, E go up, E come down, E minor, sorry. So pretty simple. And this is if this is new to you and you've never really thought about this, because this all kind of was born out of 2 things. Some people directly asking me to do a series on how to play walking jazz bass lines, but also people just saying, hey man, when I'm playing with my band, I'm so tired, I just play roots and octaves. Sometimes I throw a 5 in there. I want to play more notes. I want to do it with confidence. And that's why I said in the intro, this is like every musician should play jazz, even if they don't want to, or they should learn to be able to walk a jazz bass line, even if they don't want to play jazz ultimately, because it's a great process for you to understand harmony and theory, understand your neck better, and get the skills necessary that when you're playing this great old boogie woogie and you want to walk a line, you'll do it with confidence. You'll know exactly what notes you want to generate whatever effect. So now, how do you progress and make this one unit more challenging? So first of all, remember what I said, no metronome. Just make sure you can execute it. Find the notes. This is also a great way to really know your fingerboard better. Secondly, after that, add a metronome, but please start it really slowly. 60 beats, 70 beats a minute might sound, like, ugh, this is so slow. But if you can't play along with the metronome, it's probably too fast. Slow down until you can play and execute. Make sure the notes are long too. To play really great jazz bass lines, don't dab. That doesn't really work. Play the notes, let them bleed into each other, so it sounds warm and big and fat. Now, so you're saying, hey, I got this. I feel good about this. Move the metronome up 10 beats per minute and try it again. And if you had any mistakes, let's say going from the C major to F sharp diminished at a little bit faster tempo, you fell apart, you made a mistake. Try to play through the mistake, but when you get through the chart, stop, figure out what was it. Was it a fingering? Were you really not sure about that F sharp diminished? Whatever it might, just isolate that area, work it out without it, start the metronome again. Only, and this takes some discipline, only move up 10 beats per minute when you have played it successfully, no mistakes, everything was clean and clear. Sometimes I have students that get a little impatient and they want to move the tempo up, but they didn't really master it. And what happens is they start practicing mistakes. And we don't want to practice mistakes. We want to experience playing it perfectly, then speed it up playing perfectly. Now, let's say you're jumping in on this and you're an intermediate jazz player. You're hoping that I'll show you some things down the line that'll make your jazz lines better and better. And I trust and I hope I will. But how can you make this more difficult? Throw it up at 260. Put it at 260 beats per minute. See how fast you can go. We call this with my students, beat the metronome. We just keep moving up 10 beats, 10 beats, 10 beats until I think the metronome, the drum machine I have maxes out at 260. And so, hopefully getting, the student up to that point. Because tempo, kind of raises the difficulty bar. Not only that you have to think faster, which is really important. I mean, what was attractive to me when I started playing rock and metal is I could just memorize the bass line and play it. I couldn't improvise, but I could play it. And that was a sense of comfort. The discomfort I came studying jazz is you can't just kind of put your mind on idle. You got to actively be thinking. I'm going from A minor to D major. Okay, here's what I'm going to do. And then, I got from D major to G major. How am I going to do that? It might sound weird at first, or like, I don't know if sure I want that. It really is cool. It really is cool. And you'll see, that's what I'm saying. It'll raise your level playing in all genres when you can get your mind trained to think like that. And after a while, it becomes honestly instinct. After you practice it enough, you won't be like laboriously thinking about it. You'll just kind of go, I've done an A minor to a D major all the time. That's very common. And you'll have a bunch of different ways to play through it. So there you have it. This is Unit 1. Now, a couple things. For these early units, I also, on the sheet music that I have on Patreon, I wrote it out in standard notation, each of the 3 examples, but I also put it in tab so that you'll see exactly where I played it in each one of the examples. Hopefully that connects the dots. Try not to memorize the tab. Try to really think of it. In fact, if you want to challenge, that's kind of tricky. I was going to say you could try this in another key, but you might not know how to do that. So let's pause that for now. Just try to nail this first unit. Be able to play the triads up, down, and then a mixture of up and down through these particular 8 bars. And then check in for the next unit, Unit 2, where again I will just put the difficulty up a little bit and see where you go from there. I'm excited about this, guys. I really, really am excited. So please don't let this be a one-way conversation. When I teach this in a class or in a private lesson, there's a lot of exchange with students asking questions, raising hands, and I love that. There's a kinetic energy, and sometimes the person asking a question is helping those who just weren't really confident asking the question. We need that same thing here. So in the comment section below, please just ask questions. Say, hey, you kind of blew through this, or what about this? Could I do this? All those questions I want. And I try to respond to all the comments within 24 hours. So just fire away. I would love to hear what you thought of this unit. Is it what you wanted? And if you're like, oh, I already can do that, please hang with it. Check out the future videos, because again, they get incrementally more difficult. I don't want to leave anyone behind. I don't want to make any assumptions. All right, guys, I'm so excited. This is really a lot of fun. I love teaching this. And also in this time, the way the world is right now, believe it or not, just talking into this camera, posting online and having you guys comment is really making this this house not seem so much like a prison cell. And so for that, I thank you so much. And we broke 1,000 subscribers. We did that, and how can I thank you guys? My base family has always been there for me in every possible way. And you know, I'm just excited because it changed some things. YouTube looks at the channel a little differently. Maybe it'll grow a little faster now. But regardless, I don't care if I get down to 5 subscribers. I'm going to keep teaching. So I hope that doesn't happen. Boy, that'd be soul crushing. But I do appreciate you guys. All right, guys. I'll see you at the next video.